All right, Neha, thank you so much for joining the OMVAI Talk Show. So I'm excited and honored to have you here. So welcome. I'm looking forward to learn more about your journey as well.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, good. And I like your background with those flags behind you. They're
Yes,
spiritual flags, right? Do you mind explaining more about those?
sure. So these are Buddhist flags that you see at the Buddhist monasteries. So they bring in good vibes, and there are different inscriptions written on them of Buddhism to attract positive energy.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. Do you feel like you get a lot of good energy from those flags?
Yes. And the colors bring
Yeah, I'm always...
that.
Oh, yeah. And people always like, I was thinking about getting those flags too.
I'll get you one when we are able to travel back again and I get to visit a monastery.
Oh, thank you so much. Maybe I can even travel with you.
Yes, of course. Why
also,
not?
Yeah, definitely. And also, speaking of traveling, do you mind talking about your organization? It's called Planet Able.
Yes, so I represent an organization called Planet Able, which promotes the concept of inclusive travel, where we give everyone the freedom of choice to travel, irrespective of whatever the disability they might have. So one can travel solo, go on romantic getaways with their partner, or travel with family, friends, or go for adventure trips like rafting or skiing or hiking, no matter the disability. I mean, they could be a wheelchair user, they could be blind, they could be deaf, they could be autistic, or have any other cognitive, psychosocial, or intellectual disability, or a medical condition. And we promote inclusive travel. By that, we mean all the group travels that we do are always a mix of people with various disabilities and non-disabled to travel together. Because why should disability define the way you want to travel?
Right. Yeah, that's so amazing. Yeah, that's so awesome that you started this organization. When did you start and how did you get the idea?
Yeah, so it was primarily my personal experience. So both my parents are persons with disabilities. My father is blind and mother is a wheelchair user. And we could never travel as a child. I could never go for a holiday, right? And when I grew up and started earning, it was like, okay, now we have more money apart from my parents as well. So maybe money would solve the problem. But it wasn't the case. It was like you travel 2,000 miles only to realize that the place is not accessible or does not give you the kind of experience you would have looked forward to. Or people would pass comments that if you face so much trouble, why do you even come? So all of these not so good travel experiences were the primary reason, because my parents were like, let it be, it is not for us and let it go. But I fought everywhere and they were like, you fight everywhere, we are not going to travel with you ever. And one such fight at a temple turned into a mob fight, after which they said we are never traveling at all. And that was the tipping point for me to look at solutions, only not to find any. And that's when I started talking to other people with disabilities, and either they were not traveling at all or they were facing similar challenges. So that got me thinking, okay, this could be a business opportunity as well. But I had a corporate career, which I was into, and I had bills and rents to pay and retired parents. I was like, okay, let me see if that would be a financially sustainable business. So I did my homework for 2 to 3 years. I've sat at airports overnight counting the number of people and talking to hotels and concierge and all of those people because there was no data. So I had to create that data for myself and to convince myself that this I can make it work. And after that, I took a call to leave my job at Adobe and start the inclusive travel journey of Planet Able.
Oh, that is so amazing and so inspiring. Like I just got goosebumps. Like you're a real like entrepreneur. And where you got the idea for the organization, is this like the first kind of organization like yours in India, right? Like there's no other organization for that kind of service? No, right?
There was
Yeah, that's incredible. That opportunity, you're making like a big difference in people's lives by allowing them to be able to travel and then make things more accessible for millions of people like all around the world.
Yeah, I think it's a responsibility that was given to me somewhere by the virtue of my birth, I should say, that you can make it happen. So I'm thankful for all the not so good experiences that I had, and thankful for being born to parents like that, so that I could have that experience of inclusion right in the family, and then I could like replicate it across the world in terms of travel, like solve a problem not just for us but for everyone like us.
Oh, yep, I totally agree with that sentence. Yes, solving the problem is so important. So when you started this company, what was your main challenges?
Wow. Good question. So the challenges were because more of it was apart from the infrastructure not being accessible. The bigger challenge was the mindset of the people and the societal stigmas attached to it. So when I did the first trip, it was a local trip because I had to build the trust in people that we can do something like this, because there was no precedence that something like hasn't been done before. So I cannot ask someone, okay, I'll take you to Europe and travel with me. You need to gain the trust of people slowly and steadily, and then deliver on that, and then only move ahead. So when I launched the first local trip, I had to talk to parents of 40-year-olds who were even like earning their own livelihood, but still the family was apprehensive and fearful of sending them to this monument in the city they have been living all their lives. So it started from there, convincing even the parents and then the people that yes, you can travel, and everyone can travel together. So that first trip had like 42 people, which were 22 persons with disabilities and 20 non-disabled, all traveling together. So like more than the infrastructure, it was the mindset that took a lot of beating, because wherever we went, people were like looking at like aliens, like so many disabled people, because you don't see disabled people enjoying their lives, especially in a country like India. You don't see that very often out on the road, hanging out at a Starbucks, or enjoying a tourist destination. You don't see that. So it was a sight for people, and it was important that it was normalized. So first 6 months took, we worked only on that, like doing innovative and new stuff, sometimes even taking a coach of a metro train for an hour and running a stand-up comedy and musical show into that running train for an hour, filled with all sorts of diverse set of people, that you can own the place. You have as much right to all of these places around as anyone else, and you can have fun and enjoy yourself. So, it took a lot of, and even the hotels, when I went to them, they were like, they don't come, people don't travel. Why are you, asking us to become accessible or accommodate their needs? Then I was like, okay, they don't come because you are not accessible. It's a catch 22. So perhaps, but they still were not convinced until and unless I started giving them business. So I put the money on the table. And when I gave them business, they were like, oh, wow, people travel and they spend more money than a non-disabled traveler. Okay, this is good business. So then they started coming in and asking us, okay, how can we become more accessible and more disabled friendly? And another challenge was the ecosystem was not sensitive enough. So we still have to train the staff of the hotels how to assist travelers with disability. We have to train the drivers that how do you like assist a traveler with disability? How do you communicate with them if they cannot speak or hear? So all of these trainings goes into making a destination accessible before anyone travels there. Training the storytellers and the local guide. So you build and prepare that whole ecosystem for anyone to travel. So yeah, every destination has its own challenges. Uh, uh, Another example is the rafting trip when it was asked by a 70-year-old lady on a wheelchair. And I was like, okay, I haven't done rafting myself. Let me see if I can. Why not? Let me try. 30 rafting operators said that this is not possible. We can't do it. You are asking something that it's not possible. But after 6 months of work, we could make it happen and did the first ever inclusive rafting trip, which had people with various sorts of disabilities and non-disabled going for rafting in the Ganges. And the experience was not subsidized. It just came with extra safety measures, you know, like arranging for all the scenarios that might happen and preparing yourself. So I can go on and go on, I think, about the challenges. Let me stop here.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm so like, I know there's so many challenges. I can just imagine all the challenges you've gone to, and I really applaud you for overcoming all of those. So with those businesses, and you show them money and you show them the opportunity for deaf people, or for a lot of people with disabilities, they realize that there's a lot of economic advantage, and they know that people with disabilities have money and they will pay for their travel, meaning that they make more of a profit from the people with disabilities, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how people become disabled friendly after they realize that they can earn a profit, especially from your organization.
Yeah, because businesses look for money, and you have to it's more like you have to tell them whatever rocks their boat. So today when I speak, I just tell them, okay, if you want to be a responsible travel company, responsible hotel, do that, become accessible and disabled friendly. Or if you want more money, that's also fine with us, but you got to do it. There's no option that you can't do because it's time that the travel and tourism industry becoming inclusive for everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Travel industry definitely needs to become more exclusive. And now it does seem to be getting better. Things are changing and improving. So speaking of in the inclusive industry, so for the travel, like for the travelers, like, sorry, just to clarify for the interpreter. For example, for like these hotels, like you have to convince people to become deaf friendly and to make people stay even longer. So when you started, what was like, was it tough to keep it going and sustainable and to keep it pushing with these industries and with the hotels?
It took a bit of time. I would say for first 3 years, we struggled because I went bankrupt as well. But because, even the business was slow because it was something never done before. So it took its own gestation period to come in. It's like a compounding thing that takes its own time, that the industry realizes it's important. And then the travelers realize, yes, we can travel. build that trust over time. So all of that takes time. So, but after that, they realize, these hotels and all of these places, yes, it is something that we should look into. And we do not work with any hotel because we need to find the right people who are sensitive, who are willing to make that effort, that we need to become disabled friendly. It's not just a whitewash that most companies do, that we are disabled friendly. It has to be more ingrained. And that's when we become allies with organizations, whether it's hotels or travel companies or guides or storytellers, that they want to bring about the change themselves. They want to make that effort because they want to do it. And that is when change happens. Because then they are like, okay, there is no reason we should not be doing it. And then it becomes more than the money. It becomes more like, this is the right thing to do.
Right. Yep. I totally understand completely. Have you ever experienced any opposition for your travel business? Like, did someone deny your proposal, or did you have to sue anyone, or?
So yeah, I've sued some one company who used our travel pictures on their website for 2 years, and so I sued them. Not in the case, I sent them a notice, followed them with another notice, then they removed the pictures, but I did not file the case because at that point in time I had too much on my hand, and who would have fought the case for years? Because Indian jurisdiction is something that takes years and a lot of money to go ahead. So I just let it go. Today only there has been an article about accessible tourism in some publication, and they have showcased such a bad picture about India being an accessible travel destination. Plus, they have used our pictures without giving the credit and a wrong credit. I mean, this happens so much all the time when the companies are trying to, just hop on the boat because, this area is becoming hot. So let's get onto that and do whatever we can. But you cannot use other people's intellectual property like that without permission, right? It's ridiculous. And the resistance others have been at some of the places, even as a woman entrepreneur, many people have asked me, who is the man behind who is helping you out? Because they assume that a woman cannot be doing such hardcore logistics and groundwork as an entrepreneur, and there has to be someone behind. And this has been asked by disabled travelers. I'm not saying, so not all disabled people are, they are humans. So they're not different from anyone else. So these challenges and the stereotypes keep on coming in, and sometimes establishments say, no, we don't want to become accessible. We don't want to make that effort. It's not something that they'll support you at every place when they on social platforms or conferences. But when you ask them, why don't you become accessible? You have a chain of hotels. You are the owner of the chain of hotels. You are publicly saying good things about us. Wow, good. But how about you becoming accessible yourself in the first place? That's hypocrisy. And so many hotel chain owners do that. I mean, that is actually more unnerving than someone telling you something wrong in your face.
Right. No, I know what you mean. It never ends, and it's always going on. This concept is still new to some people, but it'll never end, and it'll keep going forever. So, how many clients have you had so far, actually?
About 3,000 from 15 different countries. So we have worked with Nobel laureates. We have worked with country representatives of Disabled People Internationals, the chairman, cricket teams, Paralympians.
So what was that last one?
Paralympians, Paralympians,
Oh,
Nobel laureates, and some of the famous change makers in the disability space globally. The Indian Administrative Services, some of very good international rights-based organizations, women's rights organizations, because we do conferences as well and help them make it accessible. So we work with some really good people and organizations.
oh, wow, that is so inspiring. 3,000 clients, and congratulations for that journey. So tell me, did you learn anything from your clients, or any tips or something that really impacted you from a client?
I think every client teaches you something or the other, either by throwing a challenge at you that, okay, can you make this happen? So all of this planet able journey. So like when I started, I was the least traveled travel company owner, if I have to say. Okay. My passport was still blank. So um, uh, all of the the innovative trips or challenges that we have done is because people have asked us to do that, because they have shown trust in us. Can you make it happen? And I've always answered with, why not? Let me try. And then we have just tried and made it happen, because why not? I mean, that should be that's the what do you say, principle I go by, that why not? And I'll make my best of effort, and let's see if we can make it happen. That's one thing I try to do. And people have, like the blind people have asked me to run the Segway by themselves, or the spinal cord injury lady who asked for rafting, or a blind person asking for skiing, or a deaf person asking for a solo holiday anywhere as a birthday trip, and then doing it regularly. So it's all about that. People just throwing us the challenge and like, okay, let's do it. It works like that.
Oh, that is so amazing. I think it's so important, yeah, to learn from each and every client, because everyone pretty much does have a different story and a different interest as well. So, how many teamwork members do you work with right now?
So we have a small team of 5 full-time members. Plus, at each destinations, we have like part-time workers whom we work with, because it's not just we focus on accessible or inclusive tourism. We focus on responsible tourism as well, like in terms of how we can make sure that the money from the travelers remain in the local communities as much as it can, right? That is one aspect of it. Plus, it's also important because the local people always know the place the best. So we work with them, train them as per our standards, and make sure the same planet table experience is delivered at all the places. So these are the team members who are like at each destination. So whether someone needs a full-time assistant with them for 3 weeks, that would also be locally available everywhere. So it's all of these. At each destination, we have local people whom we work with. And some of these are also like, we just to add to the responsible tourism aspect. So we work with local artisans, or uh, creators of stuff, because not everyone will go and buy stuff, but they would want to visit and see how this is made, because this place is famous for that, right? So if there is a like a so Varanasi is famous for its silk. So, but not everyone can buy that silk. It might not be of use to them, but they would love to go and visit the workshop and an artisan making that silk. So we pay the artisans for that visit. The traveler gets a new type of experience, and money remains in the community. And yeah, it benefits everyone. And it's a unique travel experience. It's not touristy.
Oh, that is so cool. That's so amazing. Yeah. So, like building your team, and they seem really motivated. So are any of your team members, do they have disabilities or?
So 60% of our team members, so like out of 5, we have 3 who have disabilities.
Oh, that's awesome. So about 40% of people who don't have disabilities. So how do you train them to work with, to become more sensitive, or like, do you train them, or do they have previous experience with people with disabilities?
So sometimes they have, and sometimes it's more like they are so connected to the cause that once they start working, they get into the groove of it, because it's more like some people are just nice and they just want to become allies. So the important part is that we find those right set of people. It is difficult. I'm not saying it's not difficult, but we're getting there slowly. And I think so some of our travelers, also the non-disabled ones who have been on our trips, they've come back to us that I want to hire persons with disabilities because I realize they're just like us and they just happen to have a disability. So can I hire them, or how can I make my office accessible? And that's amazing ripples going on in the society, right? Just by doing a trip. So that's the power of inclusive trips.
Yes, yes. Inclusive trips, yeah, always makes a huge difference. And it's not only just like where the people live, but it's like the industries in general and, all over the world. So looking back in your journey, excuse me. Right. So excuse me, I'm gonna start over. So what's one thing that you would do differently?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So what's one thing you would do differently looking back now?
Looking back, what would I have done differently? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think every good, bad, ugly experience of running the company, because I came from a totally non-tourism background. I had no reference or connects in the industry. I wasn't even an avid traveler, because I could not travel. Okay? So I think I just made the effort wherever I could. I was there everywhere where I could learn. I don't think I could have done differently. Maybe I would have avoided my bankruptcy by having some backup plan or something. Did some trips which I did for free or at a low cost. Maybe, but I think that those mistakes only made me reach a point where I could price it right? Otherwise, because there was no reference to price it right. So I don't think I would have done anything differently. Everything has been such an enriching and a great lifelong learning experience, and I'm still learning, and I'm all excited about it.
Oh, yes, I'm so excited about your journey too. So what are your goals after the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
So the goal after 5 years, right now I have the goal which I'm working on is reinventing Planet Able. Because thanks to COVID, travel is not happening. We cannot travel. We have to stay safe. And this actually came as like what do you say? Um, a good time for reflection of the years of journey we have been till now, and look at, okay, what are the gaps in the industry that we can fill in and raise ourselves from just being a travel service provider to an ecosystem enabler, so that we do not have to go to each and every establishment asking for accessibility and inclusion. Why not make the whole ecosystem inclusive and make them crave inclusion? So the next chapter in the book of Planet Able is creating that platform where the travelers can have access to all the information about traveling in terms of whatever the disability they have, uh, that they can even travel without us. Because as a travel service provider, how many people we would be able to impact? 100,000, 200,000 a year. But there are 1.3 billion people with disabilities. How do we reach out to all of them, even those who really cannot afford to travel with us, right? They can travel perhaps by themselves, but they do not have the right information in place or the right support in place. So, like the model now is, which we are soon going to launch, is a platform where they have access at a very small fee. They have access to all the information. They can make their travel plans, connect with the community, and have all the information about each and every destination, right from the neighborhood cafe to somewhere in South America, wherever they want to go. That freedom of choice. And also the establishment becoming accessible. So this lean period when there are not many people traveling and coming to them, we will use this time to enable these establishments, these hotels and museums, that how they can become accessible. So it's like building all the blocks together and making that industry inclusive. So that there comes a day that you don't need a separate travel company for disabled people. Everything is accessible. So it's like travel becomes inclusive, travel is changes forever.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I can totally see that happening after 5 years. I'm looking forward to your company becoming one of the top travel agencies in the world.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so what else was I going to say? So why don't you tell us something about that we don't know about you? You know, other than your work, of course, something about yourself.
That I have a tattoo which is F-16 Falcon, and I want to be a hobby pilot someday.
Oh, wow. Wow. I didn't know that about you. Is that like your dream? You know, it's not too late to become a pilot now.
Yeah, that's my childhood dream.
Oh, wow. That's like cool because that connects with your travel industry as well. You know, you started a company and related to travel. So
yeah.
So how does the universe like respond to your dream when you were a child with your tattoo, and then you form this industry that's like inclusive? So it's really interesting how it's all like kind of connected.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you break your inhibitions about it and start thinking like, okay, let's try and see what happens. You know, break that comfort zone of yours and do things that make you uncomfortable all the while, take risk, because you have to get over that fear of fear that you will fail. So what? You fail, but you will have a life experience, right? But you ought to go and try. So yeah, I mean, then you know, some things work, some things don't, but those who work, they are the most rewarding life experiences of your life. So the universe works out in its own unique ways. Who would have thought that I never thought 10 years ago that I would have a travel company like that and would be speaking to you here today. Who would have known? No one. I could have been stuck in a corporate job had I not left that job.
Right, that is like so interesting. That like again, your journey super inspired me, and I have to like applaud you, and I'm like very much looking forward to your next chapter of your journey. So right, that's been 10 years. Wow. So with your experience and like your do you want to talk about, like, so when you start building up okay, so do you have any advice for someone who's trying to start up building their own company?
Yeah. Okay. My first advice to anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur is do not listen to anyone. Do not let anyone's, any other person's fear stop you from doing what you want to do. Try. You never know what comes ahead. So before Planetable, I've had a lot of entrepreneurship failures. I have pretty much, the day I started working, every year I used to try something new, some new venture or some new initiative, some new blog, some new website or something or the other. They all failed. But I could not have, like, have a better life, because earlier it was like I was doing as a side hustle. But when the whole concept of Planetable came in, I never wanted to have a plan B. I burned all bridges. This is gonna work. I will make it work, and I will never go back. And so you just keep on trying and do whatever makes your heart happy. There will be challenges, and it will show you the best of your days, like worst of your days, best of your days, and worst of your days. But stick with your why. That why did you start it? And that would help you survive the worst of days and take one step at a time towards your journey. If it works, that's amazing. If it doesn't, it will be a lesson. Move ahead to your next entrepreneurial experience. Keep trying.
Oh, that is amazing. Great advice. I really like that. Yeah, you definitely have to learn from everything again and again, when you start your own business. So we only have 5 minutes left to finish this interview. So if you were to write a book, what title would you name the book?
I'm already writing one.
Seriously?
Initial stages.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. It's exciting.
Yeah, so it would be called Business of Inclusion.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Business of Inclusion.
Oh, I like that. I like it. Oh, I really like that name. That totally matches your journey so far. I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Thank you. I look forward to sharing it with you.
Yeah, so when will you be releasing it?
Oh, I'm still writing it. I'm in the initial stages. Let's see, by the end of the year, maybe? Yeah, that's the target.
I'm sorry, what was your goal?
End of this year.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes a lot of time, take it easy. Writing a book is not easy work, it's a lot of time and a lot of patience.
Plus I have to run the company.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. Right, so talk about yourself in one sentence.
A rebel liberated by free will.
Beautiful, beautiful sentence. Yeah, I'm going to keep that in my mind, definitely. I just want to say thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience and your journey with us and our OMVAI show. And I look forward to what your journey brings you next.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a fun conversation.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for the interpreter. And thank you all for joining.
Thanks, Victor. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.